the meeting for the Town of Weddington Planning Board for November. The termination of a quorum. Who all is here? We have a voice roll call, please. I got Jim,
Yes.
Jen,
She just popped in. Let me admit her.
Ed, are you here?
I am here.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And Jen, are you here?
Still connecting to audio.
All right, so Steve is out. Walt is here.
Here.
Hey,
Tammy
Walt.
is out.
Hey, I'm blanked out though on the video side, I think.
That's all right. So out. I got Tammy, Steve, and I got Walt, Jim, Ed, and Jen is logging in, correct? All right, so do we have a quorum or no?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Has anybody had a chance to review the minutes from our October meeting?
Yeah.
Any additions, deletions, or changes? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
This is Ed. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll
Unanimous.
call vote, please.
Sorry?
Roll call vote, please.
Okay, thank you. Jim's approved. I saw his hand. Ed, I heard him say yes.
Yes.
Walt, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Jen, are you in favor of approval of the minutes, please?
Yes.
Okay, that would be unanimous. All right.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Walt did,
Thank you.
and it was seconded by Ed. And so moving on to item number 4, public hearing for consideration of a temporary use permit application by Christ South to host a live production of the Christmas Carol at 323 Reed Dairy Road on December 12th to 13th, 19th, and 20th. That would be a Saturday and a Sunday. Lisa?
Mr. Jeff Taylor submitted an application for a temporary use permit. This is at the Christ South location at 323 Reed Dairy Road. They are partnering with Theater Charlotte to perform a Christmas Carol. The event will be from 12 to 7. That includes the setup and tear down. The performance is no longer than an hour and a half per performance, and they are not proposing any temporary structures. They are limiting attendance to 50 persons per performance, and they'll use the existing buildings for the restrooms. They've also attached a site plan. In accordance with our ordinance, we have sent out notices to everyone within 200 feet of the property, and we have not had any questions or concern. And before issuing your temporary use permit, please go through those findings. Otherwise, staff recommends approval, and Mr. Taylor is on the call for any questions.
Okay, just as a point of clarity, Mr. Taylor, the notes from item agenda 4.3 and Lisa's notes vary a little bit. From an attendance, we're thinking somewhere between 50 to 100, and Lisa's got 50 down. I don't know that it has a whole big impact, but are we thinking 50 or 100, or we're thinking more than that?
Well, first of all, thank you for you guys even considering this, and thank you for taking the time to listen and just consider it. Yeah, right now I've talked with Theater of Charlotte, and we want to make sure that we're following as many guidelines and protocols as we can. And so, talking with them today, we're gonna cap it at 50. They're gonna actually do donations or something. They're figuring that out now, but we're gonna limit it and cap it at 50 per performance.
Okay, and obviously we have a setup and tear down timelines from 12 to 7. What time do you think the actual event will actually take place, where you got people moving in and out?
The actual show will start at 3:30 and be done by about 5. The 12 to 7 was very broad, but as I've talked to Theater of Charlotte, that will be a much smaller window. We're talking probably more from like 2:30 to probably 6.
Okay.
It's not going to take long at all. They're going to store things in our building that we have attached to the deck. So there won't be a lot of moving of stuff in or out there. It's very minimal in terms of anything they're bringing to the house. So I don't think it's gonna be more than maybe a 4 to 4.5 hour window.
Okay. And what type of sound equipment are you using?
We are going to use just a couple of speakers from their side of production. We're going to use a couple of speakers from Christ South, but very minimal, just to reach out to about probably 100 to 200 yards from the stage. So we're going to keep it very small, and we're not going to have like mics on lapels or anything like that. They're actually going to have like just 3 standing microphones, and they're just going to be very loud. So it's going to be more of like they'll be in costume, but it'll be more of like a reader's theater more than an actual play, if that makes sense. So it's not going to be noise ordinance wise and stuff like that. We should be pretty well contained within a couple hundred yards of the building.
Okay. What type of stage are you using? You're using the decks that are out there? Are you bringing in a truck or what?
Yes, sir. We're going to actually just use the existing deck. When I got with Ron Law, who's the director of Theater Charlotte, and Chris, who is directing the play, they came out, they looked at the deck that we have there, and they're simply going to use that deck. And so we don't have to build anything or do anything. We're just going to, and people right now, and jump ahead a little bit, we're asking people just go ahead and bring their chairs out. And we have designated stakes out in the ground where people can put their chairs. So we've made sure we've got somewhere between 12 and 15 feet in between each group of where people can sit.
Okay. And so because you're using the existing stage there, it's in the middle of the day, lighting and whatnot, so you don't have any special electrical requirements or anything like that?
No, sir. We're just going to plug into what we have there in terms of they need a couple of extension cords, but the lighting, yeah, we won't need lighting just because of the time of the day and stuff like that. So we're going to keep it as simple as we can. We're just merely trying to do this to kind of bring some joy to the neighborhood.
Okay. From our board, does anybody have any questions or concerns at this moment? I'm gonna run down the line here as we got them. So, Walt, do you have any issues, concerns, questions?
Not for this one.
Okay, Jim,
No.
Ed,
No.
Jen?
I do not.
Okay, so in light of there no additional questions here, we need to go through these findings of fact. And so we'll tackle these at one at a time. So I'm going to ask the one question and then we will do a roll call vote. So we'll make sure we have those. So we have a cumulative total for things at the end. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll kind of proceed.
Yes.
Yes.
Before instituting a temporary permit, the planning board should make the following determinations. Number one, that the proposed temporary use will not materially endanger the public health, welfare, and safety. Do we agree with that, Walt?
Agree.
Jim?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay, we have unanimous consent on that. That the proposed temporary use will not have a substantial negative impact on adjoining properties. Any questions, concerns about that? Walt?
None.
Jim?
No.
Ed?
No problem.
Jen?
No.
Okay. Item number 3, that the proposed temporary use is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this chapter and preserves its spirit. Walt?
True.
Jim?
True. Yep.
Ed?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4, the proposed temporary use is held no more than 4 times per year at any particular location. In this particular case, this is the first application, so we would agree with that.
Agree.
Walt?
Agree.
Agreed.
Jim?
Agreed.
Ed?
Agreed.
Jen?
Agree.
Okay, and in light of there being no negative responses to either of those 4 pieces, I need a motion, correct, Lisa?
Yes, sir.
So
We
moved.
need a motion.
Wait.
Oh,
It's public hearing and we're doing it virtually, so we have to come back
okay,
in 24 hours to take the vote. So
You
it's
were
got to
correct.
be,
I saw that note.
okay, it's got to be at least 24 hours. So whenever anybody else we can join back on Zoom, I can send out the invitation when we're done and it'll all be good.
Okay, so
Okay.
for the purposes of this particular piece, we want to table this component until the next meeting, which will be 24 hours approximately from when this was opened. So that would be what, Tuesday afternoon?
So you want to call for a special meeting tomorrow night or Wednesday morning? You pick.
Let's do this tomorrow evening about 6 o'clock. Is that okay with everybody?
Or can we just email in, Karen? Can we
No,
just,
we gotta
Okay.
record it.
I got you.
Is everybody available, say 6 o'clock or 6:30 tomorrow, 7 o'clock tomorrow? Walt?
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Ed,
Yes, I'm available.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have an agreement. Let's do this tomorrow evening at 6:30.
Okay,
Jeff, I'll send you an email explaining kind of what's going on. It's a state statute requirement for virtual meetings. It takes 24 hours till we have the vote on a public hearing. So, well, it sounds like everyone's in favor. We're just going to hop on here. You don't have to get on, but we'll hop on tomorrow night and just we'll
Okay.
do the
Can I ask 2 quick questions?
That's right.
So obviously then we'll table this till tomorrow, and I appreciate you guys, like I said, doing this for me. So basically I'll tell Theater Charlotte to wait on until Wednesday morning before they open up their ticket sales.
I think that'd be approved. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the other thing I'll let you guys know is we have put in there, and we've told Theater of Charlotte that while people are on our premises, they will have, they'll have to follow our social guidelines of social distancing, and we are requiring that everybody who comes to the performance, they do wear a mask the entire time. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that.
Once again, I appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to think about this and listen to us. And I'll just look forward to that email from Lisa tomorrow, and then we'll hopefully roll things Wednesday morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jeff.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Moving
Hey,
along.
Brad, I
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
know if he can talk, but Steve is here. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you being able to make it. Hope you're feeling well. We have no old business, so let's move on to new business. Item A, discuss and consideration minor subdivision for the Mary M. Morris heirs property. Lisa, will you take over, please?
Yep, thank you. Mr. Daryl Matthews is seeking a minor subdivision approval. It's property located at 201 South Providence Road. It's a total of 24.01 acres and zoned residential conservation district, RCD. He's subdividing a 5-acre lot, which leaves about 19 acres left. The lot does meet our minimum size requirements and setbacks, and staff recommends approval.
Okay. Has the board had a chance to review this particular piece of property?
mm-hmm,
Walt,
Yes.
Jim,
yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Okay. Are any questions, concerns with the particular property that we're looking at?
Mm-mm. I'm good.
Pardon me, I have a little sneeze here. So everybody's had a chance to review that. No questions, concerns? All right. If that's the case, Lisa, we need a motion to approve, correct?
Yep, it's a minor subdivision, so you guys have the approval authority.
All right. Walt, I need to make a motion.
I
Make a
make a
motion.
motion to approve the reason, this minor subdivision rezone.
All right. Motion's by Ed.
Second.
Second by Walt. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go
Aye.
back. I'm sorry. Jim's approved by hand. Ed made the motion, so he approves. Walt, you in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Jen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And
Oh, sorry, Jen.
We need to come up with nicknames.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous. And so that is approved. All right. Item B, discuss recommendation preliminary plat for Cardinal Road, formerly Woodford Chase. Lisa, can you help us with that?
Yes, Mr. Scott Swersky submitted a preliminary plat for a 9-lot subdivision. It's on 13.32 acres. It's located on the southwest corner of Highway 84 and Lester Davis Road. This was approved back in June of 2018. Per our ordinance, a final or a preliminary plat is void after 2 years. They did come to you all probably this past summer for a 3-lot subdivision. We have a new applicant that's putting the property under contract that wants to go back to the original 9-lot subdivision. I listed a few of the issues that the planning board had prior back in 2018. Since you guys have seen that plan, they did provide a bulb turnaround for fire truck, emergency services. They established a new front yard setback beyond that 50-foot requirement to kind of create a view shed buffer, and then they added a 30-foot non-disturbed area. They also included a right turn lane into the property, which was requested by town council. I did list a few conditions in your staff report that I'd like to carry through, all about the maintenance plan and agreement for the driveway pipe for lot 8. That's built to NCDOT standard. We'll make sure those maintenance documents and CCNRs are reviewed by the town attorney. And then there was also a comment about a fire hydrant being added on lot 8 if necessary. So I would like to carry those forward again as we move through this process. This is a major subdivision, so you guys are the recommending body. It will go to town council, and then we still have to come back through with the final plat. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry. Who decides if a fire hydrant is necessary or not?
I'll have Chief McClendon review that, and then the Union County Fire Marshal.
Okay.
Are,
All right.
this is it. Are they proposing to use Union County Water and Sewer on this property?
Yes, sir. So there's a
Okay.
sewer line easement kind of along the back of these lots, right here.
So there were a couple of questions I actually approached Lisa about just a few moments before the meeting. On the summary we have here that Lisa prepared, it notes that the maintenance pipe for the lot 8 should be included in the HOA documents. And on the plan, it shows that the item 9 under the notes section, driveway pipe for lot 8 is to be built by DOT standards and shall be privately maintained by the owner of lot 8. So we got a conflict there. It is my thought that should probably be maintained by the HOA proper.
Brad, I did go back to the minutes, and it does say, like it is in your staff report, that it shall be maintained and included within the HOA.
Okay, so we just need to have note 9 changed on the plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So. Okay. And then we need to have a note regarding driveway cutouts for the 30-foot tree safe.
Okay.
And is there any other thoughts, negative or positive, within this particular property, Walt?
Nothing that is applicable. I've never liked this project, but that's just personal. I don't think that they'll be able to maintain the tree lines and the buffers that they're going to do. So good luck to them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Jim, do you have any concerns or questions?
I just kind of wholeheartedly support what Walt just said. It is what it is.
I interrupted your comment, Jim. I'm sorry.
No, it was just a remark.
Okay. Ed, you have any questions or concerns?
You know, I don't have the history on this project other than our last go around when it was 3-acre unit, 3-acre development. And I'm just curious as to how the proposed DOT widening of Weddington Road overlays onto this. I mean, DOT has done the preliminary design for a design build of this project. So they have an alignment, they have right of way that they've acquired. I'm not certain what the status of that right of way acquisition is. Is there any proposed right of way acquisition that would come onto this proposed property as part of that road widening project? Or again, I share the concern that, you know, and there you have it. If I could read what all those great little colors are.
So the dark red right-of-way line to the RW
Yep.
is included along with this bulb turnaround coming out of the high school property. If you want to go east, you've got to do this bulb turnaround.
Okay.
So
So that,
where's that cul-de-sac going to fit into this development here then?
so that's this cutout.
Okay, that's the cutout right there. Okay.
Yep. So this lot 9, I had him show me a layout that he could fit a house there, and they can. It's just I don't know who's going to buy that lot. You got the power line easement, you've got your creek, you got your sewer easement. It's tight, but it meets the ordinance.
Jen, any questions, concerns?
I shared a lot of concerns on this, but what you're telling me is it meets our ordinance. You know, they're 1 acre lots. It's within the zoning. You said they were providing a right-hand turn lane. I assume that will go away though as part of the expansion of the widening of Weddington Road.
Sir.
Jen?
I have the same concerns as everyone has stated. My only, I just wonder about the increased amount of traffic. I was actually happy when they went from 9 to 3. So going back to the 9 lot, and I agree with Lisa, I don't know how, the sale of these are going to go. And sort of an unrelated question, the school district, I'm assuming then this is not going to, as far as new subdivisions coming in tied with the school system with Weddington, is there going to be any issues with that?
I'm not sure. I'm not privy
Do you know
to.
what I mean with based on where like Weddington Acres and all other new subdivisions with Union County schools? I was just curious.
Yeah,
It just
I'm not
puts
sure.
another strain, just more strain.
Yep.
Good questions. I
I
think,
did have one more question.
go ahead.
Lisa, did the developer go ahead and contact all these folks again and tell them that they're back on the 9? Or do they have to do that?
They were required to do that through the sketch plan process, and that
Mhm.
sketch plan doesn't expire, so they didn't have
Okay.
to go back and do the notices.
Thank you.
All right.
And just
So again, this is the sketch plan they put together 2+ years ago then.
so we require sketch plan, preliminary plat, final plat. So there was a whole nother process even before this sketch plan. That's the part of the process that has the public input meeting.
Based on the comments that we've got, I don't think anybody's really in favor of this particular layout. I don't think we're really in favor of particular design elements that we've got. That being the case, we still don't have much of an option here because it does meet the requirements. So based on it meeting the requirements and not our personal thoughts about it, because I don't particularly care for the project the way it's laid out, we need a recommendation to approve. Can I have a recommendation from?
So moved.
Need a second? I think that was Walt.
It was me.
Okay, I need a second.
All right, this is Ed. I'll second it.
Thanks, Ed.
Way to stretch out there, Ed. I appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Jen. I heard Jen, Ed, Jim, and Walt. So that's unanimous based on the code, not our personal preferences for the project.
Correct.
Agreed.
Under our new UDO, this would be conditional, so you can have a little more say over traffic and everything else you brought up. So
That is what we're working towards. I appreciate you mentioning that because I was going to bring that up too. So I appreciate that. So based on, because our UDO takes over after 8 lots, correct?
yeah, we're still deciding 8 or 9. We had right now, I think it says 10 or more is a major. So we still have to decide on that number.
Okay, when do we need to decide on that? through the UDO process? Is that, what ordinance and chapter is that?
We'll be talking about it a little bit tonight,
Okay.
with process, with subdivision.
All right. Moving on. Item C, discussion and recommendation for a text amendment to section 46-79, connection to public water lines.
So Chief McClendon with the Wesley Chapel Volunteer Fire Department came and spoke to our town council probably 2 months ago and said they're having issues with fire hydrants. The Union County has an ordinance that they're required to be every 500 feet from a primary structure, except with all these small subdivisions. A lot of times the fire hydrant is on the other side of the street from a development. So when they have to go into a subdivision and connect to a fire hydrant, they're shutting down thoroughfares. And there's a lot of just kind of small subdivisions, just like the one we approved, where the fire hydrant's on the opposite side of the road. So we are proposing to add B that says where water is accessible per our requirement of A above, all major and minor developments are required to place a fire hydrant on the same side of the road as the development, and a hydrant shall be no less than 500 feet from a principal structure. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so on our last piece of data that we just dealt with, we utilize the terminology if required, and we're going to go to the fire chief of Union County to figure that out. But as I think about this a little further, and obviously we just kind of approved that the way it sits with that recommendation in there, if that particular neighborhood had to get water from a fire hydrant, they almost have to shut down 84 to get it right now, correct?
I'm not sure what side the nearest fire hydrant is located, but possibly. And that's the issue, right?
Oh, that's a significant issue.
Yeah.
Because if that would be the case, then they would have to either ride down Lester Davis to get back over to Newtown to come back around, or let Fred Johnson's house burn, whoever that is that owns the house. So I'd almost make a note back into the Cardinal piece. I don't know if we can do that as a recommendation. We probably ought to require a fire hydrant in that particular neighborhood just because of, otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to shut down 84? And if 84 is 4 lanes, what do you do then?
Yeah, I'll make a note for town council. It
Yeah.
goes to them next month.
Okay.
That's good, Brad.
Any questions, concerns of this particular component that we have presently? Walt,
None.
Jim,
I'm good.
Ed?
Well, I mean, the concern I have in reading this language is that the vague remembrances I have of the county's water and sewer line extension ordinance, it presumes that water and sewer lines will be extended into that development. And it's why I was asking on this previous project where it wasn't showing a water line extension. Didn't need to apparently at this stage of development. And I think the assumption is they would run county water into that development as a part of the requirements under A. But I'm concerned, just not knowledgeable enough, if they could claim that this is a private road and it would be tapping off the water main on the public road and try to actually do water taps off the water main that runs along 84. I'm just not comfortable right now knowing whether or not the county's language is sufficient to require the water line extension, or if we would need to, and I'm not sure what else we could do in that regard at this point. So it's just a concern. I'm not ready. And I'm assuming in paragraph B here, no less than 500 feet from a principal structure within this development is the intent of that language.
Yep.
Good catch.
That's why we like you here, Ed. That's good thoughts here. What do
Great
you,
point.
what do we need to do to figure that out? Is that something we need to get addressed with the county, Lisa? What, how do we discern that?
I mean, this particular development is what, 9 or 10 lots. The A is talking about 10 to 39 lots within a half mile. They'd be required to run water. If I can remember right, reviewing the construction plans, they are intending to use county water. I don't know if it's off the main line, off of 84 or Lester Davis or how it's ran, but since there is water, B would be applicable.
Yep. I'm assuming that they're going to tap the water main off of State Road 84 there and run a separate water line in front of these properties to serve these properties. Because I don't think the county would allow them to tap into that water main and run, because as I think back there, those lots do not abut that water, State Road 84. That is a permanent easement that was established as part of that development. So they would have to run a water line along 84. So I think this is sufficient as long as we say no more than 500 feet from the principal structure within the development. I think we're good.
All right, so we'll need a recommendation for approval, and this we'll call for a public hearing in December, and then the council would look at it again and approve in January.
Make a recommendation to approve.
Second. It had a recommendation to approve. I need a second.
Second.
All right, second by Walt. Let's go on the list here. Walt is made a second, so he approves. Jim?
Approved.
Yep.
Ed made the motion, so he approves. Jen?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a unanimous vote of recommendation. And Lisa, again, you'll send that through for the public information meeting, is that correct? Okay. All right. Moving right along, item D, review of Unified Development Ordinance, sections 8 and 9. And I think Kevin takes over here, right?
Yes.
Is Kevin
Good
asleep?
evening.
Oh, he is awake. How about that? I thought we put him to sleep already. Good evening,
Riveting, riveting. I'm very awake.
Kevin.
I hope everybody's doing well. Good to see you via Zoom. Y'all ready for me to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. So we're going to do Article 8 and Article 9, at least one pass through 9. We may end up adding 9 to the next meeting when you hear what I have to say there. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. If you could keep up Article 8. So reminder, we're following the structure of the 160D North Carolina legislation, trying to track for the best we can their sections. Article 8 is the subdivision regulation section. And I guess I'll say reminder or something I'm trying to be very careful about doing. I'm trying to be strict with my use of the word subdivision to just be limited to the definition that is in 802A, which says it applies to the divisions of tracts or parcel of land into 2 or more lots. So all we're talking about here is the subdividing of land into lots. We are not talking about a residential development standard or the subdivision that we live in, but we're just talking about the mechanical administrative task, as you're going to see how we're going to structure this, of handling the creation of new lots. So Section 801 is simply just a statement of authority to regulate subdivision of land. Section 8.02, the applicability, and it is tracking the state statute definition of subdivision. It's not really any material change there. So there's some rules that, some state law, but for things that are so small that they're exempt. And then we're about to get to minor and major subdivisions. So we're just tracking state law definitions with 802. 803 is really where we get to our own drafting, okay, where we identify the procedures to be followed in granting or denial approval of a subdivision plat prior to its registration, meaning recording at the Register of Deeds. And we're dividing this into two categories, same way you do it now, minor subdivision and major subdivision. And we will need to make a final decision, kind of where do we fall between, as Lisa mentioned, and this came up even in setting this up initially with the town board, is where we land between whether it's going to be 10 lots or 9 lots or 8 lots, somewhere in there we're going to pick as kind of our trigger for what's the difference between minor or major. Okay, so for a minor subdivision, so I'm just going to say for sake of discussion now, let's say 8. Okay, it's really ultimately it's 2 steps. Okay, it's a preliminary plat and a construction plan review, and then there will be a final plat that gets recorded at the Register of Deeds for the new lots. And remember, the proposal in the UDO, and this is one of the procedural changes, is that minor subdivisions will simply be reviewed by staff, because there's not really anything to do other than to confirm that the rules for the residential development that's proposed, right? If the lot division meets the rules, then it should be approved. There's not really discretion. It's not such a big enough impact on the community typically that we would feel like it justifies having the full process that's involved with conditional zoning. Now let's move on to major subdivision, though, the larger ones. And again, we'll have to draw the line somewhere, but you can say 8 to 10 lots now has a big enough impact that we believe that we need to pay attention to the impact on the neighbors, and that we will go through the more robust CZ zoning process. Lisa, again, has made some nice charts here, right? So the first step in the process will be the site-specific development plan, which is the CZ zoning that we talked about the last time, okay? So this would be the staff review, community meeting, your review and recommendation, public hearing, public comment, town council approval. And then if there's ultimately town council approval, then the next stages of the process, a construction plan before they had building permits or grading permits, whatever the case may be, and then ultimately a final plat to record the new lots of record. That would be administrative, handled by staff. And part of that review, of course, would be confirming that what's proposed at the construction plan and final plat stage meets the CZ zoning rules that were approved as part of our more robust public process. So that would be your traditional one. And if you go to what I think is going to be the most common, the conservation residential development, no change to your CZ process, where we have the pre-application meeting, the site walk, including the resource analysis, where you're focusing the developer to try to use the land the best they can so they can take advantage of the natural features and hopefully not just bulldoze everything over, right? And work together through that design charrette process. Then same run of show we just went through, right? This should all start sounding familiar. Same thing we were talking about last meeting. Same thing I just said for the traditional subdivision. We'll go through a staff review. You all will be engaged again with the planning board recommendation, town council with the public hearing and the neighborhood input. And again, if approved through the CZ zoning process, then we'll have a definitive site-specific set of rules for the conservation residential project. Construction and final plat becomes administrative, simply confirming conformity to the approved CZ plan and any other applicable rules that may come into play, which is why we have flagged here, adding at the end, what other additional rules might be relevant for final plats. We may include, district highway engineer regarding state streets and roads, Union County Public Works regarding utilities. And for example, there possibly, if you might have NCDWQ if you had, say, wetlands mitigation or something like that involved. Again, we clarify at the end that final decisions on the subdivision plat itself, I'm not talking about the residential development, just the plat, is administrative, and that is would be in the purview of the subdivision administrator, meaning the staff. So let me pause there. This is really that last procedural piece that's kind of the logical conclusion of what we've talked about with the CZ zoning. I personally really like Lisa's like tables and the charts that fit in with this text. I find them very helpful. But I want to pause there and see if we didn't have any questions offline, but I want to pause there and make sure that folks are seeing this kind of coming together as we've talked about along the way.
On a quick list here, Walt, what are your thoughts here? Do you have any questions, concerns with where we stand presently?
Not really. I really do like the way it's laid out, so that you go through the pieces and you have a diagram in front of you to follow. It's a lot easier than trying to remember it in the written words. Nice job, Lisa.
Thanks. And I've got to update all those links, and this is just a draft version, so that'll.
Right, understand.
Ed?
No, I have no additional concerns this time.
Jim?
It's good. I like the idea of incorporating the charrettes into the process.
Jen?
I think that'll help.
No, everything looks great.
Okay. With no issues, Kevin, let's continue rolling down the line.
Well, very good. And I guess before we leave, I guess I'm wondering, is the consensus of this group to go kind of with the lower number of 8 instead of 10? While I'm kind of, you have said 8 to 10, it's probably as good a time as any, Lisa, to say, are we ready to make a recommendation together on that at the lower number? That's kind of how I'm sensing the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, so we just had that 9-lot subdivision. So like 8 or less is minor, 9 or more is major. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's what we're saying. Does everybody kind of agree with that?
That's what I like.
Do you have a consensus?
This is Ed. Is there any concern in terms of coordinating with what other adjacent jurisdictions might be doing this regard and what the county does in this regard? I believe the county standard is 10 or more is a major subdivision, or 10 or less is a minor. I'm not sure.
Yes, I did have a running list. I can provide that, but it was between 8 and 10. Marvin was low like us. Right now, our current is 3 lots or less is minor. Marvin has, I think, 4. But the majority were anywhere between 8 and 10. And I think that's why we just always kept it between 8 and 10. So.
Okay. And the recommendation on the table is 8 and less would be a minor?
Yes, sir.
I'm okay with that.
Jen, any concerns, questions?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
And then that major subdivision is now going through that CZ process, that sketch plan. Even if it's traditional, they don't have to do if it's traditional 40,000 square foot, they don't have to do the charrette, but you guys have a say now. You can't just say, yes, it meets the ordinance. You now can say the stuff you were mentioning during that last review.
We have a based on agreement on 8 and less is minor, 9 and more would be major, and go through the process, correct?
That's right. And again, what Lisa's making the point is that the real significance of that is going to be what has to be reviewed through the CZ process, right? Is where we're matching. And again, what we're really, the principle we're relying on there is it's a big enough impact on neighbors that while we're trying to have a excellent balance of the property rights of the owner and the developer of the property we're talking about and the neighbors, that the best way to do that is the CZ process. And that is enough of a size where it's worth taking that additional time and effort for a case by case, parcel of land by parcel of land decision, which again, I don't think there's any magic to 7 versus 8 versus 9 versus 10, but it's really going to be the CZ process is going to be your extra touch. That's the significance of this cut. What goes through CZ and what doesn't.
What's to say if it goes down to like 6?
Yeah, the most aggressive I've heard of in the state is 4, is the lowest I've seen it. Okay. I think it is like, I mean, at some point, if it's so low, you're going to get a political push. If somebody's going to say you're not, you're making it too, you're pushing too far away from the individual property rights of that,
Right.
where the balance is. I think it's more a political concern, and again, the other direction, right? If you raised it to, 25 or 200, I think you'd get political comments back the other way, right? You're not paying enough attention. So
Right.
I just think there's a line drawing exercise here of something that seems reasonable and likely, where we just don't feel necessarily comfortable that we have perfectly identified all the rules in advance.
Well, with that being said, if our current minor is 3,
Right.
is it a better thought to say 5 and under is minor and 6 and more is major? Is there a reason why we wouldn't do that?
I kind of think that that's better because if you look at it, if you think about it, it's a 5-acre piece of land, 6-acre piece of land. That in some situations is going to be pretty significant. I'm okay with coming lower.
What's your thoughts, Ed?
I mean, the CZ process sounds like a relatively complex process for a developer to go through. And 8 sounded like a reasonable break point. Starting getting into 3 or 4 units, now you're hiring, professionals, significant amount of professional staff, it would sound like to me, to be able to go through and answer some of the additional questions, make it a little bit more subject to the desires of the planning commission and the planning board and the county and the town council. I don't know, I'm comfortable with 8. I would not be comfortable staying with 3. Is there a middle ground? Possibly, but I'm comfortable with 8.
Jim?
Did you say Jim or Jen?
Yeah. Jen, do you have a thought?
Jen, you need to spell it Jen.
I'm sorry. Let me do that.
It sounds so much like Jim. I'm fine with 8, but I go with a little bit with what Jim is saying too, is, you get the parcels of land that are, 5 to 6 acres, and they try to, it goes back to what we just discussed on this other project. They're trying to throw as many lots as they can that fall under the requirement, but doesn't necessarily fit with the lay of the land, so to speak. So, I think I'm fine with 8. I think, I don't know, if we split the hairs and split the difference, do we say, 7? It doesn't really matter. But then I agree with Ed. It's, either way, someone's not going to be happy. But I think what our goal of Weddington is what we're trying to do. We're all in agreement.
Can I?
Well,
Yep. I keep going back to the rural character of Weddington, and my favorite number would be either 5 or 6, and I kind of hang on 6 for the smaller lots. And I think Jim's argument about 5-acre lots, 6-acre lots, something like that, they could try to put 20 houses on it if they had a chance. So I kind of like to throttle it way back.
Well, if our current standard was 3 and we double it to 6, I think that's a pretty broad jump on the part of the planning board. I think going forward, we're just going to have a whole lot more smaller lot sizes than we have had larger properties.
I think so too.
You know, I also want to get to the point where, you know, certain things need to just be reviewed administratively and doesn't really need to have our input in there. But I think I would be more comfortable with a 6 than I would much more than that. But again, you know, that's just my opinion. So if we're gonna make a decision here, let's just have a quick thought process. And maybe 6 not the right number either, but let's just assume 6 for the moment. What would you rather have, 6 or 8?
6.
Jim, would you rather have 6 or 8?
6.
JEN, would you rather have 6 or 8?
7.
Way to be Sweden. Good job.
I would say 6 if I, just for the rural character, that's what we're trying to maintain.
Okay. Ed, would you be more comfortable with 6 in light of that conversation?
Again, I wouldn't have a problem with 6.
Okay. Let's make a determination. Do we need to make a vote on that, or we just decide it as a group here?
No, I think you're okay right now, just by consensus. You'll end up with a vote on the final product. We'll just take notes, and Lisa, I'm kind of neutral on that in this range. So I would say let's take this as let's change the draft to 6, and that's what will be on the table for the planning board's final recommendation in January.
Sure.
All right. So let's agree on 6, and let's go ahead and proceed on down the line, Kevin.
Great. I think I'm going to be ready to go real quick through 8 now. I just will let you know 804, we're going to have added in the improvement guarantee, the bonds, that sort of thing is going to be pulled in here. So that's the security to know that the infrastructure is going to be built once the plat gets recorded and they can start selling lots. So we'll pull that in. There'll probably be some light red lines to that when I do the more detailed editorial change to make sure that's in tight conformity with the state statute, but this is the right place for the bonding. 805, the legislature now says with the subdivision fees number, that there's like a process around that. So I've just kept that in kind of verbatim. 806, state statute language instead of ours, but it's substantively the same, that just recording the plat doesn't mean that there's any taking over of streets at that. So not particularly relevant to us, since mostly state roads. Following the statute on penalties, if somebody happened to violate the subdivision rules and recorded something down at the Register of Deeds without going through the process. So that's 807, no change to state statute. And if somebody appealed a decision by the staff, which I think would be highly unlikely, but it cross-references the statute there. So that's really it for 8. All right, I'm gonna move to 9, and this one for the so for 1 through 8, I've been really excited about telling you how great everything has come together. Not super happy yet with 9, and I know Miss Thompson is not. That she said to me that she said, "Well, Kevin, this is so easy to read, and now all of a sudden we've got everything thrown into 9, and the flow is a lot more difficult." And I think that is an accurate statement. And what I'd like to do is have a little more time, and I want to talk through some ideas on how to make this section end up reading a little bit better. What I'd propose to you is that we have a discussion tonight that's pretty high level of structure and organization, I would like to get your feedback. Like I said, I think Lisa and I know what's like not okay with this right now. And I think a group discussion on editing this to see if we can improve it would definitely be in order. So you know what we did. I mean, what you have here, what's good about it is it does have everything in there. So to the extent somebody's worried about, where are my Weddington pieces? Am I losing things that are important? The answer is no, you're not. This is the right location by the state statute organization for where it should go. But again, from a combination of volume of the state statutes, volume of our existing ordinance, and then I have to say, I guess I don't feel like I love the state statute organization here as much as I like it in some other places too. So I'm kind of giving this one more of a B or C grade right now, and still needs a little bit of work. So with that intro, Lisa, could you pull up a table of contents here for a little bit? And it's we sent you one, and then Lisa and I have worked on an update since then. And if you could just bear with me on a document you've not seen, which is the one on the left side of the screen here for a minute, I want to walk you through the organization here, which is kind of forest for the trees, okay? So Article 9 of the state statute, they show up with, they call it parts. Now they've organized it. They have part 1. Do you see here at the top, it says part 1, particular land uses is what they say is in part 1. And then they go on and have about 17 sections of uses that they have decided need some particular rules around it. Okay, so ranging from adult establishments to airports to beehives. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know why they pick beehives, but it's in, fraternities and sororities, modular homes. So there's a whole list of things that the state statute's going to say you have to do this way. Okay. And then, in my mind, that's where our uses should go then too. So, category 1, part 1, particular land uses. And I'm gonna come back through them in more detail, but Lisa, could you move down to part 2 so they can just see what the parts are? So we've got part 1, land uses, part 2, environmental regulations. Again, this is what the state statute has said, and that's where they're talking about, erosion controls and floodplains. So then they go to part 3, wireless telecommunication facilities, part 4, historic preservation, part 5, community appearance commission. So just me as an editorial comment, I mean, I guess those 5 things kind of generally fall under uses, but I struggled with that as kind of an organizing principle of things here. But I mean, that's it's kind of the first place I'm not as happy with how the structure is going. So what Lisa and I have talked about for part 1, particular land uses, is to divide this up into some sections, okay, and maybe having that maybe does not track quite as tightly to the state statute titles as much now. But the idea, I think, would be to just say, hey, state statutes 901 through 916 have this list of uses, and if they ever show up here, we need to go read those statutes. I don't know that they're even super relevant to us a lot, but I think we just reference them and maybe not copy in a whole bunch of text, then come in with our own section for supplemental regulations for particular uses. And I would lead with the use you care about the most, which is your residential uses, right? The residential development uses. And really the first thing that you all see in this section of any importance is that. And then we click in with a few other uses that I would like to talk to you about here in a few minutes, but I want to keep narrowing here. Okay, so the idea would be a section for uses focused primarily on the most important use, the conservation residential district. Then we'd come in with another section of general requirements that apply all the time. And Lisa and I have listed kind of what we characterizing as general requirements right out of your existing ordinance. The lots have to be on a street or only one principal building, or the heights or the signs are things that apply kind of across town. Then we thought we could have some of your ordinance that would fit under like a landscaping, tree, open space kind of category. What do you do with screening and fences and walls? And I think maybe your new tree ordinance could fit in here. And then a category of roads, parking, utilities, and other infrastructure. So this is intersections and off-street parking and lighting and that sort of thing. So that's an alternative structure that Lisa and I have been brainstorming. So I guess I might pause for a minute there, and I really would be. It won't hurt my feelings for you all to say, hey, this would be better, this would be worse. There's a lot of material to give you. I guess I'd be interested in your reactions on the go, whether you feel like this alternative table of contents, and I go a little bit off script of strictly following the state statute, is resonating a little better with you all, because that's kind of where Lisa and I are feeling like we might want to head with this, that something along the lines of what I just said could possibly be an improvement with what you already have in front of you.
Well,
Well,
I think as an area, I think we're a lot more restricted than what the state statutes are. So I certainly don't have any qualms about clarifying what exactly we want to do and have approved. Walt, what's your thoughts here?
Well, mine was that by doing it this way, we can more closely codify what we mean by rural character and do a couple of those kind of things that are in the land use plan right now.
Jim?
See, Lisa, I just wanted that. I think that's a really nice comment there, because it'll make it more obvious, like the things that matter to us and that what are likely to be used at a planning board meeting or at a town council meeting, as opposed to getting bogged down in all the things that, hey, great, maybe it's good because of the state statute, but I think we're only going to occasionally use those, and it would be fine to kind of cross-reference it and just sort of issue spot it and say, hey, if we need it, we can go look that up later. But I think that might actually track nicely that the thing we care the most about ends up getting featured a little bit more.
Right.
Jim?
I agree with what Kevin just said. I think this, I like this.
JEN?
Well, you're good with the suggested way we might revise it on the next pass?
Yes, I was in the middle of reading, sorry.
Okay, no, very good.
Ed, any concerns, questions?
I'm going to defer judgment until I spend a little more time looking at this. This is a lot for me to take in right now.
Okay.
It is.
I think overall, I think I'm inclined to proceed down the path we're headed. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
I just think we need to clarify and codify exactly what we're looking for as a town and as an area. And this seems like the appropriate place to do that.
Okay. So Lisa, maybe we could spend 10 or 15 minutes with just some of the specific questions that we flagged in really in both versions of this, right? Let's see if we can kind of get some consensus on a few of these points. So when we do the next iteration of this, we can clear as much as we can. Let's see.
One of the things I brought up with Kevin is the planned residential development. It has to go through a ZZ process. So I was thinking about taking out all this process section And if you want private roads or a gate, you need to ask for it up front with your conditional zoning application. And then the requirements for the detailed requirements about maintenance and the gate,
Specs.
that goes into like a supplemental standards section this section, right? So all the details would go here, but the process is we're getting rid of the idea of a PRD. It's listed as a use in your table of uses, and it says when you can apply for one, you have to have a minimum of so many acres. That's already there. So all that we're going to have in this section, it's not going to be a PRD. It's just going to be a part of the conditional zoning, and then we'll have the details, the supplemental standards here. Is everyone okay getting rid of the PRD concept and just calling it a CZ?
So we're basically leaving the intent there. We're changing the positioning. Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody came with a CZ plan and wanted private streets and a gate, we would look at the private street gate section that's staying in as the starting point to measure it, say, hey, how close are you coming to this existing gate standard? But we're not going to create an additional process around it. We're going to just roll it into the process we've already talked about.
I think from a 2,000-foot approach, I'm okay with that theory. Well,
I think that this is headed down the correct path.
Okay.
We're trying to simplify, but keep focused on what we're trying to accomplish, which is the rural character, maintaining that. And a lot of the little details that kind of get added to these things come over time because somebody notices something. But if we got it out there in front and this is what we're looking for, then I think it's much easier to decide from our point of view. It's much easier for town council to make the yes or no and then to administer it. So to me, it's much clearer.
Jim?
I agree with the conversation, and it does give a little bit of clarity or the ability to clarify things on some important items.
Lisa, do you want to move then to this additional review requirements as something you and I are at least thinking probably doesn't need to be in here for the somewhat the same theory?
Right. So with your table of uses, you have your by right and your CZ. And some of the by right, some of the CZ has a supplemental standards like an SS in the chart. So right now, if someone is proposing a country club, I go to the supplemental standards section and make sure that it meets the supplemental standards. But these seem to kind of be repetitive and state the obvious. This is your job to, when you're looking at a rezoning, you check the relationship to the impacts on adjoining and nearby properties. Like that's what we're doing through the CZ process. So these really aren't supplemental standards. A supplemental standard is, okay, you want a daycare center, we allow them, let's say by right, but you have to have a 50-foot buffer instead of a 20-foot buffer. That's a supplemental standard. These are just vague statements on stuff you're supposed to be looking at anyways through the process.
And Lisa, show them, because this is like, I mean, one of the few places that I personally feel like that the ordinance is not. I mean, I just want to get rid of all this because I think it's close to useless just to be direct about it. I mean, to have every one of these uses with a sentence that says something very general like relationship and impact to the adjoining is minimized, or, you know, it's compatible with the general characteristics. That's not,
I mean,
that doesn't help do a math problem at all. And it's not that I'm opposed to the idea of evaluating any use in a CZ by its compatibility to the neighborhood. It's just, I would rather just say the starting point, which is do your statement of reasonableness and consistency and do your evaluation against the land use plan, right? The whole land use plan and the purposes section that we talked about at the last meeting. That's the better way to say all this, and not say, 5 different times compatibility, which I can never tell you exactly what it would mean anyway. So I think it's just confusing and is not adding, confusing at worst, and at best, it's just adding a little bit of redundancy to, and maybe not even saying it. When I say confusing, I mean it's not as clear as saying compare it up to the purposes of in the land use plans, right? This is,
We need to, and Kevin and I can go through these, and if there's an actual development standard, we'll pull it out.
we'll keep it, right?
But if it's just these general statements about relationships to impacts on adjoining properties, any use that we approve conditionally, we're looking at that.
Do we have about the office trailer specifically? Where else is that C, bullet point C listed? Because that was one that came up several times with the trailer being on that Hemby tolls trailer for a long period of time. I assume you guys will go through, and that's the kind of thing that can stay, but I agree with the redundancy of a lot of the
That
same
one
comments.
Yep, that one is already in our temporary use permit section.
That's what I thought it was. So that could, then I agree. I think a
Stuff
lot
like
of this
that,
could go.
right?
So, the gas station one, again, it's not going to be very practical because you've already got a CZ business area, but at least
There's
some of
not-
those standards are specific, right? I can measure 80 feet, right, as an example of, in a way that I can't measure compatibility. So,
Right.
again, what Lisa and I are trying to say is if it's nothing that can be measured, we're going to scrap it and think we've already said it better. And if it's specific, we'll keep it. And Lisa, I guess you're about to say with the one that just came in, right? It's almost like what's happening right now with the agritourism. It's so general that even the applicant is coming in with a text amendment to turn it into something specific, right?
Yeah, and making it tighter.
And making it tighter, right? Because that's right. I mean, it's actually going to be, if it's specific, I think it advances the ball. If it's general, I think it's bad paraphrasing of follow your land use plan and your purposes.
Well, I think the general objective from the UDO is kind of streamline a lot of this stuff down anyway. So if it's not quantifiable or measurable, then we probably need to find another avenue for that. Either strike it or make sure it's in another area or not. So,
Yep.
okay.
And then the last one, biosolids.
Yep.
Were any of you guys around when this text was added to our ordinances?
I don't.
So this is
believe I recall that.
biosolids is
I'm still familiar with the issue.
like this is sewer sludge, right?
No, it is highly biodegraded waste product from a wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
But yeah, do you want it applied in a suburban community? Yeah, maybe not.
So, but they have to get a permit from the state, it looks like. But it has this whole process of me looking and reviewing soils, environmental reports, stuff I don't know how to even look or review or approve or not, and has you all going through a CUP process to allow the application of biosolids.
Question. Can we outlaw the application of biosolids within X amount of area from residential?
I'd rather have something simple like that. I feel like we become liable if we have this whole process of allowing it or not allowing it when it's a state approved permit.
Right.
I think I like that assignment better, Lisa, is why don't we find out, like, I don't know the answer to that off the cuff. My impression is that this is a state regulated thing and that we may not have much authority about it one way or the other. But I would say, why don't we take the homework assignment? I mean, look, it's not a lot. I mean, it's not listed in your use table. So, I mean, if we deleted it all together, it's not allowed unless it happens to be something that we're not allowed to in effect prohibit, right? I mean, if it's gone from the use table altogether, right?
Well,
So,
can I bring in my hogs and set up a hog farm?
If it's an animal over a certain size, you need like one per acre.
Well, what I'm trying to say by being ridiculous is that I don't think this had anything to do with rural character. I think we ought to dump it.
Well, I think your challenge though is that you've got a state permitted operation. So that, it could be argued, is this a land use? You're not, typically the land use is agricultural. So you have an agricultural land use, and this is a soil amendment being applied to this land. So the state is regulating how the soil amendment can be applied and what the permitting is and what the monitoring is and what other requirements are involved. So it's not a land use per se, it's a use within that land use.
okay.
And how do you, and I would agree with Lisa completely. I don't think the town wants to get into doing engineering evaluations of that operation. That's the state's job to do that, and not ours. I think ours is looking at, all right, if you're going to do this kind of an operation within our town, what additional requirements, in addition to all the engineering requirements and the agricultural and the stormwater protection requirements, might we want to put on top of that to safeguard the character of our community? And I would look to Kevin to go, what legally can you do, beyond setbacks or other requirements, but to get into engineering requirements or monitoring requirements or testing requirements, or that sounds risky on from my perspective.
Right.
It seems to me the most effective means of doing that would be to put a span between residential. Because obviously we're surrounded by residential. It's going to continue to grow residential. And we don't really have that much quote unquote farming area left. There's not that many cow farms here anymore, or soybean farms or any of those others. But if we did a span between, residential areas, you got to be so far away from residential area to spray this particular component. Then that's not really outlawing it. It's not saying it's banned because it's permitted by the state. We're not getting into the engineering of it. We're merely measuring between distances. I think that's something we probably easily be able to quantify.
I mean, you typically only put this on an agricultural use, right? Or do you spread it on open space areas? So the use is agricultural, and this is a supplemental standard of an agricultural use?
Yeah, typically the operations that are done in this part of the world are, you want it more in cattle grazing type operations than in crops, because crops, quite honestly, are just difficult for land application because you've got a narrow window to get in and apply it. You've got a narrow window after the crops have been harvested to come back in and utilize that area. It's just much more challenging. Most of the property that's done with land application is area that's more for cattle grazing or of that nature, where you have open fields where you can get in multiple times during a suitable weather and you might be raising, some grasses and whatever on that. There's a ton of body of knowledge in this area, and I'm certainly not an expert, but I'm struggling right now to see if there's local resources that we could talk to other than going right to the state. But the state's the primary implementer, permitter of this, and I know counties had so Union County. Most of the land permit in Union County for application of biosolids is actually used by Charlotte Mecklenburg. And Union County is hauling their biosolids to South Carolina to dispose of it because Mecklenburg, Charlotte Mecklenburg locked up all this property years ago through license agreements or contract agreements. So, and there's state law about not being able to limit interstate commerce. So I know it's hard to just say you can't do that here. You get into interstate commerce regulations and restrictions on trade, but I think we can do things that say, we're not going to allow that unless it's at least 100 acres or more. And you have to have at least a quarter of a mile setback or pick a distance from the nearest residential development or whatever else we may want to do to limit it. It'll just make it, we can change the economics where it's just not economically viable to consider parcels within Weddington.
Right. That's kind of what I was headed.
Mhm.
Can we look at that from aspect, Lisa and Kevin?
Yeah, I like that. So Lisa, why don't I just take on a small research project and, maybe, the idea I think would be to scrap this entire section and really like what we just said on the other section, right? Replace it with a couple sentences if we feel like we legally can, with some size and distance requirements that would be objective and something that would be easy for you to measure. This
Right.
reads like somebody did a cut and paste out of a state regulation to me, and like we were doing like a parallel permitting process, which seems a little silly. I don't know how we can do it, and it's more liability than it's worth.
Yeah. Okay,
So
that's all I had.
All right, so let's just do that, Lisa, and we'll. I've got it. I don't think we can report back on that. I just need to do a little research. Okay. I think the only, those were our things we wanted to delete and not follow our rule of keeping exactly as is, right, Lisa? So, maybe we can call it there. I guess I'll say one other thing just to move to the next section on the environmental, part 2 environmental. I'm thinking that for the more technical ordinances like floodplain, erosion control, and stormwater, that I would just put those in as maybe part of the UDO, but as an appendix to the UDO, it would still have to go through a text amendment to change it. But since it seems unlikely to be used as a reference on a regular basis, I'm inclined as a drafting matter just to park that off to the side, just along. We'll have appendixes on what are the technical requirements for submitting the survey of the plat too, right? It's just technical things. Does anybody feel like they're likely to want to have stormwater and floodplain, those 20 pages or more at their fingertips during one of these CZs, or we kind of okay parking that to the side and trying to save some, make the whole base document a little more readable?
I'm personally okay putting it as an appendix.
All right, unless somebody feels strongly about that, they think that, my practical thought is it's not likely to be looked at very much.
Right.
Maybe it, so.
Right.
Didn't even have anybody have a disagreement with that particular position.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's put it as.
All right, so team, this really will be my last one is, I would say for the December meeting, we need to pick back up with this Article 9 that I'm going to include a revised document consistent with this kind of new table of contents structure. We'll include for your December package along with 10 through 14. And we'll end up taking most of our time, I promise you, on 9, because 10 through 14 is pretty much follow the state statute for the most part. So
Okay.
that's the conclusion of this for what our December meeting ought to look like.
Okay.
Kevin, I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a nice evening and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I appreciate it.
You as well.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Yep. I'm going to sign off. Y'all take care.
All right. Lisa, moving
Bye now.
along. Item 7, update from town planner report from November council meeting.
The council called for a public hearing to be held next month to renew an annexation agreement between the town of Weddington and the village of Marvin. We had a 20-year agreement with them. Basically, it's a map that says we won't annex this property if you all don't annex, our property within our land use plan. As far as planning update, I received a sketch plan today for a 10-lot subdivision off of Old Mill Road. They're calling it Belmar, and they're doing the traditional 40,000 square foot lots. Public input meeting notices went out today, or maybe tomorrow, for Roots Farm. They're going to have that meeting December 7th, so mark your calendars. I would like you all to be there if possible. They're doing an on-site portion from 1 to 3, and then they're doing the evening portion on Zoom, just because of COVID, from 5 to 7. That's Monday, December 7th. And that also is on schedule to come to you all in December. There's some plans online, and I sent you the text amendment. So I'm hoping you can all start looking at that. I'll get the packets out extra early, but I'm hoping to have some time to kind of sit down with you all to go over some of the details, because this is such a big project. So
Good.
I think that'll be a good exercise to sit down and discuss.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay. And other than the rumor mills and the independent meetings, the cats from 12 Mile Creek and 84 have not proposed anything to the town yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did anybody go to that meeting by chance? And if so, how much of that project is within the town of Weddington, and how much is that on quote unquote Union County property? Do we know?
I looked at that early on and I thought about 2/3 of the property was within the town limits.
I have no knowledge of it. All I heard was a rumor mill, so I appreciate that help, Ed. Thank you. Board member comments. Before we get started on that, I would like to make a comment. Tammy Hechtel is moving. We're in the process of moving. And so tonight was going to be her last board meeting. And of course, she couldn't make it. So we're hoping maybe she'll be in attendance for our December meeting. So Tammy has left the board. So we'll be one member short here. The normal December appointments have been pushed to March. Walt is up. Tammy obviously will need to be replaced, and myself. So those are 3 positions that will be need to be appointed. So either reappointment or new members brought on board at that point. So, any other comments from any other board members?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Walt.
Thanks, Walt. Same to you.
Same to all of you. Have a great holiday. And just Lisa, if you could just email the board members when those meeting dates are for Roots Farm.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate all the board. And with that, I need a motion to dismiss.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
You have unanimous consent. Meeting is adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy
Stay safe,
Thanksgiving.
guys.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye now.
Careful driving.